Thanks. So I'm Jill Fulliger. I'm the EPA Region 10 Assessment Program and Data Management Coordinator. And I did see there's some other assessment and data management coordinator type folks on the phone here. So if I mess something up or forget something, please let me know. And I'm based out of the Seattle office. The slides that I'm going to go through today are courtesy of Adam Griggs, who's in our Water Data Integration Branch at EPA headquarters, and they are part of a much larger training that he does have available. I will send the links later to make sure they can get shared properly. But he put together about an 8-hour training on the water quality portal, water quality exchange, various tools that are available. So this is a very, very brief subset of that. So what I was thinking I would do today is kind of briefly give some examples of what happens with the data that goes into water quality exchange in the portal and some ways in which that's used. Give you just the very beginning steps of how to start getting data in there, and then provide some resources for you that give you a lot more information to get you going, as well as some access to help through a variety of means should you need it. So what is a water quality exchange? It's a standardized data format and submission database. The idea here being that anybody can put their data into it. They don't have to have a set database that's used. It also creates standardized formats that are in there and metadata so that folks can be confident in the data that they're pulling out of there, have the metadata that they need to see how the data were collected, the methods that were used, to make sure that the data is correct as far as, there weren't data entry errors, units are matching, things like that. Some of you who've been around for a while may remember Storette, which was a kind of a predecessor way back that folks didn't really like to use very much. It was very structured and said you have to put it in a certain way. So we didn't get as much support and as much people engaging with Storette. WQX is also the entry of data into WQX is also a requirement as part of the terms and conditions for a number of grants if EPA money is being used to collect the data. So it should be entered in there for, tribally collected data under 106 grants and things like that. So there are agencies in here, there's academics, there's, members of the public that can put data in here. So it is kind of a warehouse for data from a variety of different sources that then makes it more accessible to be shared among all of these user communities as well for a variety of reasons and end products. And we'll talk briefly about a couple of those. So it has this standardized base approach. It defines these common data models and data standards to be used when entering the data in there. It's designed to be automated. There's several different steps in using the data in here that you can automate. As I said, the structure of the data partner systems doesn't matter. So you can have data in whatever format you have it in, however you collect it, and then it can be mapped and transformed so that it goes into WQX using the more standardized form then. And there's a variety of ways to prepare the data and submit it, either through direct submission, WQX web, or through third-party apps. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. So just to give kind of the bigger picture of what happens then. So the WQX, or Water Quality Exchange, is where you're going to put your data into it. It serves data from USGS, EPA, USDA, Park Service, as well as a variety of other entities, such as I mentioned, tribes, it could be citizen groups. Anybody can get the organization in there and enter data into it. As of the time when Adam made these slides, there's data from more than 1,600 organizations, greater than 410 million records from more than 1 million sites in there, and it serves all types of water data. Excuse me, one second. Excuse me. And there's a growing number of sources that are putting data in here, as well as tools that continue to be built to make using this data easier for everybody. So one example that I'll just give because it's something that I'm familiar with in my work is how the data is used in the water quality assessments. So through the life cycle of your data, you've got your study design and collection, the sharing and the data analysis. And then the last step is that action and communication piece. You want this data to be used for restoration activities or for regulatory actions or decision making of some kind. So how do we get to that place? So you put your data in the water quality exchange there, and then it is available for others to pull out of the water quality portal. We do have a work group that's working on coming up with some automated data assessment, the TDA there, the tools for automated data assessment. That is a work group that EPA, Christina Mullen at EPA is leading. And we've got states and other folks calling into that. If that is a work group that you're interested in participating in, you can let me know and I can make sure Christina gets you the invite for that. So folks in there are working on things like R and coming up with scripts that they can use for these data assessments so that folks that are using this data don't have to reinvent the wheel every time they're doing their data assessment. So Attains is, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with that. That is the database, EPA's database where states and territories and tribes now are using to submit their water quality assessment reports. For those that have TAS for 303D, that would be the impaired waters list and the 305B reports that uh, talk about the water quality status of all the waters. So through Attains, then the states or territories or authorized tribes are entering their attainment determinations. So they're saying their waters are impaired or they're meeting their water quality standards or they don't have enough information about that. So once they, pull their own data and the data from the water quality portal and whatever other sources of data or information they might have, and they assess that data and make an attainment determination, that goes into Attains, and then that feeds into How's My Waterway, which is sort of a public-facing website to display all of this water quality information. Water quality portal data about monitoring stations also feeds directly into How's My Waterway. So I'm going to just show you an example of that so you can see one way in which the data that you collect may ultimately be presented to the public. Ashley's told me that you'll also hear more about how this data could potentially be used in a dashboard for the Columbia River Basin monitoring data to help answer management questions. And the WQX data on PFAS is also what populated the PFAS analytical tools. So those are some examples that might be a little bit more relevant immediately to the work that you're doing. So How's My Waterway? As I said, the monitoring data from the water quality portal will show up in How's My Waterway, as well as those attainment and water quality status determinations. It's a public serving website that's powered by the open data and also web services. So it accesses all of these various um, databases that have data in them and pulls it into How's My Waterway so that the public can look quickly and see if their waters are fishable, swimmable, safe for drinking. They can find out all sorts of information about TMDLs, total maximum daily loads, other types of restoration plans, um, permitted facilities, all sorts of information is then readily available for the public to access and to make decisions about how they choose to use the waters. And also then to get more information about what's going on in their waters. Reports are available in there, photographs are available in there, and we're adding to that all the time. And just some examples of some of the information that is pulled into How's My Waterway so that folks can get a really good picture of what's happening in the waters that are of interest to them. And you can see the data standards in there with WQX are among them, and then all of these other various layers to give a really good picture of what's happening in the water there. So how do you do this? How do you get your data into WQX? There's a couple different ways to do that, sort of depending on how tech savvy you are, how your data is set up. You can either go through something like the Exchange network. If you've got all of your information already set up so it feeds directly into WQX. Give me 1 second, sorry. So folks can review all of the WQX requirements and the format for the XML files on their own. And then you can push data directly into the WQX database via an Exchange network. It's sort of a pipe that feeds directly into WQX then. Other folks are going to need more assistance getting their data into WQX. They may not have um, files that look anything like the WQX format, and they need to transform those and map those so that they can get into WQX and match up with the WQX standards. So to do that, we have the WQX Web, which is an online web application where you can map your data set to the WQX standard, and then it will produce that XML file that is what the Exchange network users more directly use. Within WQX, you can combine various different kinds of data sets that you might have with import configurations that are in WQX that then help map that data and transform it into the format that you need. Um, and you can save those import configurations so that you can continue to use them over time. You don't have to redo it every single time. And we recently also released an application programming interface, the API there that you see, and that allows for other programs like R to interact directly with WQX Web. And there's other third-party applications that can be used as well. So you can take whatever format you have and either directly feed it into WQX if you're already using the standard format, or you can take whatever kind of database setup that you already have, whether it's an Excel spreadsheet or whatever, and use those import configurations to transform it into that standard format to feed into WQX. And then from there, as I said, it can be pulled into the water quality portal and used by others. Uh, the data is uploaded, once it's uploaded to WQX, it usually twice a week, I think, is uploaded into the portal. So data uploaded into the Water Quality Exchange should be visible and available in the portal within a week or so. So that WQX web feature that I talked about, it's an application that allows users to import or manipulate and validate and upload their data. So if your formats are all over the place, you can use this to pull it all together so that it goes into that standardized format. We do have templates available that you can use as well. So just a little bit about how the data is organized in the portal so you can kind of visualize what's happening there. The first thing that you do when you register is enter all of your organizational account information. So then we'll have that there for your organization so folks can easily see who's been submitting the data. Then there's a project name. So you may have multiple locations under one project. You might have multiple parameters that you're collecting under one project. So if you choose the project name and then everything collected within that project kind of flows under that. You'll have unique locations then for all of the sampling sites that you have. And then under those locations, you would have all the activities and the results that you collected there. So you could have a variety of activities collected at multiple locations that are under a specific project name, for example. So how to get started then, and this is just the very brief first couple of steps that I'm going to show here. You register for a WQX account, and the information to do that is on our website there, and fill in basic information about your organization that'll then feed into that first table of the organization information there. The second step then is choosing your path. So do you have your data in a format that already matches the WQX standard and you have web templates that you want to use? Is your data in some other format and you need to use those import configurations to match it up with that WQX standard and then submit it that way? This is also a place where maybe you want to think about if you're just getting started with data collection, which is more beneficial for you. Do you want to spend a little more time up front getting those the data into that standardized format so it's maybe a little bit quicker to flow later? Have you already been collecting data and maybe you have it in an Excel format that's completely different? It's not worth your time to try to make it fit those templates yourself. So then maybe you put your energy into the import configurations so that it can transform that data for you, and then you can use those in the future. So it depends a little bit on where you are in your data collection process, where it's best to put your energy at this time. And then, as I said, once you've got that sorted out, then you can assemble your data so that it fills in these different tables to get you started. And the project name, the location information, and then the various activities and results that you've collected there. And there are data requirements for submitting into WQX. We do have all of these available on our website. So they'll talk about the kind of metadata that's needed, the standard methods or the information to put in the methods that you used, the domain lists that are available for allowable values, and that sort of thing. And all of that information is available on our website. So once you have gotten started, registered, filled out that basic information, then we have a whole list of tools on the website with the templates and all of the directions that you need to start entering that data. So just to kind of review a little bit, by having these this regional data hub that has multiple organizations' data entered into it, then that allows this data sharing to happen, where a variety of entities then can pull out that data from the portal for all different purposes, and then do data analysis for whatever reason that they're looking at this data for, in order to produce results that are available to everybody, that are visible to the public, and maybe transform this data into some easier to understand information that the public can then use when either making personal decisions or the community is making regulatory decisions. And as I mentioned, Ashley said you have it sounds like several ways that you're using the data out of the portal for your own purposes for this work group. So as I mentioned, we've got a whole bunch of basic WQX resources here that will help you get started, help you fill out all of the forms and the templates to get your data entered into WQX, help with some problem solving if you're having some issues. There's a best practices guide there for different parameters that you may be entering data for. We do also have now, as I mentioned, some more training videos available. Adam Griggs had worked on developing that over the summer, primarily internal with EPA. He did 8 1-hour training sessions, and he did say that we can share those. I think maybe Amy or Jennifer said that they had the links to them, but I can also send them to them as well. So those are a really good resource to get you started too. And then we do have folks that can help as well. So we have our help desk that can be reached by email or by an 800 number. Typically, we have a contractor that is able to help. We're between contracts right now, and it may be another month or two before we get the contractors back on board, but we have our team at headquarters that's able to help. I'm able to help as well. I'm not the super deep technical help, but I can kind of triage a little bit and help get you to folks that can help you with the super technical aspects, particularly if you're having trouble getting started and getting your data in there, or you're behind and have sort of a backlog of data. We've got folks that can help you get started and get that in there so you can sort of be self-sufficient with it after that. We do have monthly user calls. If you're interested in joining them, you can shoot me an email and I'll make sure Adam gets you on the list for those. And that's a variety of folks from all different entities that are using WQX. So Adam can talk about updates that are coming up or new tools that are available. And then it's also a time for folks to troubleshoot, ask questions that they're having, and try to get help as well that might help others. We have those links to all of the various manuals there. There are some other instructional videos on YouTube. The ones that Adam did over the summer are a little more current, so we'll get those sent out to you. And as I said, we typically have contractor support, but our headquarters folks and some of the rest of us are filling in a little bit on that front right now until we get the new contract in place. But you can certainly always contact me. And if I'm not able to help you, then I will get you to the right folks that can, or can connect you with resources that you need if you're having difficulty finding them. So I think
Excellent.
that is all I've got. I don't know if there's time for questions, or folks can always, send me questions as well.